They are. We have to begin to look at prevention programs, particularly prevention programs that are culturally specific. There is no one cookie cutter model that you can use that's going to work with every group of young people. For example, when you begin to look at the white community, the Latino community, the African American community, although there's some similarities, there's also some things, y'all, that we fundamentally do differently. And there are some cultural approaches that we have to begin to look at from a school-based perspective. There's so much work that we can do in schools. But what we have to understand is that the school officials, there's only but so much that they can do. Community-based organizations need to partner with the schools. And I'm going to say that again because I know sometimes we're real slow. Community-based organizations need to partner with the schools. We really need to begin to look at how we can mobilize men. We need to begin to look at what I call the concept of a village dad and do what Bill Cosby talked about, whether you like Bill Cosby or not. Bill Cosby talks about putting a body on it. And particularly for our boys, although girls are involved in antisocial behavior and involved in gangs, our number one challenge right now has to be what we're going to do with these boys. Has to be. And I'm here to tell you what works is putting a body on them. Our boys need to be around sober, responsible, spiritually guided men. We cannot get away from that. The other thing that I want y'all to understand, don't get it twisted. Because a lot of times people say to me, well, we can't find any African American men. That's some BS right now. I mean, that's a whole, because you got two African American men that this is what we do. The other thing that we got to understand is we got to move beyond race, y'all. Because, see, we get so caught up on the racial paradigm in this country. I'd rather have a sober, responsible, spiritually guided white male mentor a black male than to allow this young brother to go his lifetime without having a male father figure. So I know a lot of times we get real caught up on race. At this point, y'all, it's about survival. Let's talk about recovery very quickly. For a lot of the young men and women that are hardcore gang members, it's going to take a lot of resources and it's going to take some intense programming. Oftentimes people think, well, if we put this person in a 30-week job training program, they're going to be okay. If you've been drinking and drugging, gang banging for 15 or 20 years, it's going to take more than resume building for you to change a fixed mindset. Many folk out here have a fixed mindset where they believe that there's nothing wrong with selling drugs. And that's a mindset that we have to attack.
Now, we use your curriculum, which is from the Urban Leadership Institute, called Dare to be Queen, Dare to be Queen, and it's been a major factor in our young leaders' lives. How can people or social service agencies out there that have youth groups and youth organizations, how can they get their hands on those manuals and materials?
Our website is www.urbanyouth.org, and our phone number is our toll-free number is 877-339-4300.
Okay, and also, if you want to reach this young man, because let me tell you, he's an excellent speaker. If you want to reach him, they can also reach you at
my office, yes.
And your office number is one more time.
877-339-4300.
Thank you for all that you do, and may you continue to bless others.
Thank you.
What is your message to young people? That young person, you heard from some of our young people in our group, and one of the young ladies talked about her own experience having brothers that are in gangs and sisters that have been pregnant, and her mother has just given up on her thinking she was going to go the same way. What is your message to that young lady?
Well, my message to her is the same message that I got from a former senator and Dr. King's son. And I was told by them that I can't save the world. But in order to make a difference, I had to save myself. So my message to them is to go, and you do positive things. And eventually, everybody that want to will follow.
Amen. Well, what are your last words to a young person who's watching out today that's saying, maybe I want to join a gang, and you can't tell me or convince me any otherwise. I have to provide for my family. I have to put food on the table. I have to put clothes on my back. What do you have to say for them?
Well, I guess my message to them is I'll be coming to visit you in prison or your grave. if you decide to stay in the gangs. But know that there is a different life, and you can still help your family and your community being the positive one. I've changed the community that believed in me, that thought I was God's gift to the community as a gang leader. Now they follow me as an entrepreneur, as a mentor, and as a father.
One of the most important things that really set in my heart was relayed to me by Dr. King years ago when I didn't understand it. Now I understand it now. And he said, for us, it's not so much as violence or nonviolence. For us, especially the young kids in our communities where we're seeing three kids do a drive-by shooting, 3 of them going to prison for the rest of their life, 2 kids dead. You do the math, add that up. It's not so much as nonviolence. With us, it's nonviolence or non-existence. Thank you.
Well, that's our show. I hope that you were inspired. Remember, there's so many things that are going on in the community. There's so many efforts going on in the community trying to help our young people seek positive choices over the negative ones. Of course, there's Peace TV, but there's also Bev Jordan, there's also Watos. I could go down a whole list of programs that are really out here trying to make a difference in the community. And if you as a parent or a person in the community would really like to help, I would really encourage you to go out and volunteer at one of these organizations and help support. I tell you, Peace TV could really use the help as well. So if you can volunteer and help lend some of your time and efforts towards what we're doing, we would greatly appreciate that. Recently I was on Ron Ponder's show on WHBC talking about how I confronted a gang personally. Now, I wouldn't suggest everybody goes out and confronts a gang, but let's let them all know that we do love them. And finally, I want to share one thing with you, because this is what's going to be on our next show, is that we were featured, Peace TV is featured in a national book called Millennial Leaders, Success Stories from Today's Most Brilliant Generation Y Leaders. And there are so many people all over the country that are doing really excellent things out of this generation. So let's not give up hope on them. You can get this book at Borders.com or Amazon.com or Borders Books and Barnes & Nobles. But, definitely support our young people. And remember, a bell is not a bell until you ring it. A song is not a song until you sing it. And love is not a place in your heart to stay. Love is not love till you give it away. Thanks for joining us. Peace.